Hi everyone, you're very welcome. We'll just wait another couple of seconds. There's a lot of people coming in now and joining the webinar, so we'll just give them another few seconds and then we'll kick off. Okay, so good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining today's information session on the Diploma in Corporate Governance. My name is Annabelle and I am one of the Business Development Managers here at Smurfit Executive Development. Here at Smurfit Executive Development, we deliver a suite of fully accredited part-time professional diplomas, allowing executives like yourselves to specialise in areas ranging from corporate governance, like we're going to speak about today, leadership, strategy, finance, digital innovation, and AI, to name but a few. And these professional diplomas are stackable. So what I mean by that is that if you do 3 of these diplomas over a 5-year time frame, you can earn yourself a master's qualification. Here at we also offer, some people don't have the time to do a diploma or do a master's program, so we also offer a suite of in-person and blended short executive programs. So these can vary from like 3-day short courses right up to a 6-month blended program, and they're non-accredited. They're geared towards building practical knowledge, skills and mindsets for immediate impact in your role. So for those of you who maybe are not familiar with this, UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School is Ireland's top ranked business school. And here at Smurfit Executive Development, we're ranked #1 for open enrollment executive education programs, as ranked by the Financial Times World Rankings. This is primarily based on participant feedback, and it means that if you do decide to come on this program or any of our other programs, you can expect a high quality learning experience. Today, we're going to talk to you about the Diploma in Corporate Governance, and that is starting on the 18th of September. This will be the 22nd year that this programme will be running, so it's going on a long time, and it is led by Dr. Margaret Cullen, who I'm joined with now. Margaret is the Programme Director, and she's one of Ireland's most renowned governance advisors and specialists, and has been involved in the programme since 2007. So today, Margaret is going to cover things like the programme philosophy, the learning experience, the depth and breadth of content, the structure, and also the new format. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll have a good understanding of what the programme is about, what makes it unique, and the benefits that it's going to have for you. We aim to finish up at 1:45 to make sure you can get hopefully some fresh air and some lunch. And please do submit your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll pick them up then as we go along. So now I'm going to hand you over to Margaret. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Isabel. Welcome, everyone. Really appreciate you joining on this glorious day and summer's day. So just to bring you through the diploma. So by way of introduction, a much nicer photograph of me here in all my photographic glory. So I'm Programme Director, as Annabella said. I took over the reins as Programme Director from Professor Niamh Brennan for the academic year that has just passed. So 24-25. But I've been teaching on the programme, as Annabelle said, since 2007. So I have obviously will be well ingrained in the programme and its evolution. Just on the screen here, I also have my co-pilot, Siobhan Lane Walsh, who is Programme Manager. This is a pivotal role in UCD Smurfit Exec Development. The programme manager is very much that conduit between the university and the students, and is ever present in the students' lives during the course of the programme. Siobhan is just right up there in terms of quality programme management, and I'm really is a huge asset to the programme. So that just gives you an idea of the players on the pitch in terms of programme direction and programme manager. I won't go back over what Annabelle has explained in terms of our rankings. I think that they speak for themselves. We are, top in Ireland in terms of open enrollment program, and the UCD Professional Diploma in Corporate Governance is an open enrollment program. And I think that one of the things that we'll explore later or during the course of this session is that the Professional Diploma in Corporate Governance is a UCD Level 9 qualification with all of the rigor and the depth and the breadth that goes into that. But we're very proud of our rankings, and we hope that if you do the program, you will see that reflected in the quality of teaching, engagement, and so on. So who is the professional diploma in corporate governance for? Well, it's really for anyone who's involved in the system of governance at a senior level. So this could be company directors, that's both executive and non-executive directors, or people who are kind of on the cusp of becoming a company director, looking to expand their knowledge of governance. So in my 18 years on the program, we've had everything from, founder directors through to, directors of listed companies, directors of banks, like financial services, non-financial services, large private companies. We've had, charities, state bodies, so a myriad of directors along quite a breadth of continuum. And we have a tremendous experience in the class about making sure that we can enable the key learnings from the program to be applied in all those contexts. So company directors, senior executives who interact with the board. And this is something that's very close to my heart, because while boards have legal responsibilities to the company, and that will be very much covered in class, it is senior executives and employees within the organization that execute governance on a day-to-day basis. So, for senior executives who engage with the board, who are responsible for delivering the strategy of the organization within an agreed risk appetite, those senior executives, this is a valuable program for them. And again, but it's not limited to that very top tier in terms of hierarchy within an organization, because as I say, so much of the governance is done outside that boardroom and middle managers who are preparing for that senior executive role. So what we've seen over the years is this has provided, the professional diploma in corporate governance has provided a fantastic, I suppose, framework within which to kind of elevate your status within organizations, and to kind of seek those promotions and understanding of governance, so that you can apply and engage at those levels, at senior level and director level indeed. We also enjoy participation from the public sector, and that is again something that we've seen over the last 22 years, in fact, or 21 years, and 22 years this year. So there's always a good footprint from the public sector, be it within state bodies themselves, at senior executive level and at board level, but also departments that engage with state bodies, because obviously if you think of corporate governance as a system, individuals within the departments themselves have responsibilities. They could have several state bodies under their aegis. So their understanding of their need to understand governance is absolutely pivotal. And then, of course, the last one there is that experienced people who are maybe thinking of moving into the non-exec director space. And I think that, so I suppose the key thing I'm saying here is that there are some programs that you might see that are very suited to people, and maybe focus on those non-exec directors, or those who aspire to be non-exec directors. This is a program that's going to be valuable to everyone involved in the system of governance, and I suppose that's a key differentiator. And we'll see when we look at course content, that's because the professional diploma in corporate governance covers the sphere, the entire system of governance. So in terms of the core philosophy, I think it's really important to understand the philosophy of the program and where we're at. And I've mentioned governance as a system. And often when things go wrong in the world, if there's a corporate governance issue, often people say, well, where was the board? And that's generally a valid question to ask. But as I've mentioned, very often, more often than not, if you have a board that's comprised of executive and non-exec directors, the non-exec directors aren't involved in the day-to-day. In certain contexts, you might have a non-exec director only board. So the philosophy of this program is very much on the system. And this is from board level, board committee level, right through underneath board level, including senior management team, forums like risk management committees and so on, and the entire system of internal governance that's created. So we see that governance as a system. We integrate for listed companies, we integrate the investor, or for companies that have investment from private equity, we integrate that. For state bodies, we consider the minister acting on behalf of the government, the taxpayer, and so on. So we look at that entire ecosystem and connect it up. And in doing that, as you'll see later, I'm not going to go in any linear order on these philosophies. We're trying to, in working through that system, give participants a very strong conceptual framework of understanding that where they can reflect deeply on their own context, their own system of governance, and apply things in practice. This is really important because the one thing about corporate governance that I've learned this will be my 19th year teaching on this program, but I'm actually teaching corporate governance for over 20 years myself, having started as a dimension of corporate finance back many years ago, and just fell in love with the area, and the rest is history. But I think that when we're thinking of governance as a system, it is really important to understand that context is really, really important. And often codes don't speak to that context. Often codes of governance talk about principles and underlying provisions, and the ability of a board and a senior executive to take that and apply that to their context and know what is pertinent, what is relevant, and also as an organization grows, how you evolve your system of governance. And that goes to the heart of what the Diploma on Corporate Governance is all about, is exploring that with you and giving you a framework of understanding to apply to your context. The program is exceptionally practical, very, very practical indeed. And if you look at our faculty on our website, you will see that all of the faculty are coming with significant practical experience, some through consulting, some through non-exec director positions themselves. I've been, both an executive director and a non-exec director myself. I'm currently sitting on the boards as a non-exec director. We bring a significant amount of practical expertise, but parallel to that is an academic rigor. So I am obviously program director to this program, and my job is to work with all the faculty to make sure that they're extrapolating and pulling out some of the most current thinking in the area of corporate governance, and our job is to distill through all of the noise in the academic literature and to find what we believe is the best to present to you. And I think that's a really core USP of the program, that academic rigor. But again, it's coupled with practical relevance. So, often people think, well, if it's a university qualification, if it's a level 9, is it going to be too academic? Absolutely not. This is a very, what I would call, pro-academic program. And one of the reasons, well, apart from the obvious reason, is that, we're here to support senior executives in their governance role. The other really important thing is that, executive education is all about leveraging the experience in the room and utilizing that so that we have this wonderful peer-to-peer learning, which is kind of, this was the third box to the right there, that we facilitate and leverage everyone's knowledge within the room. So everyone brings their particular domain of experience or the particular contextual experience to the classroom. The job of faculty, the job of myself as program director, and I do teach on the program as well, is to really take advantage of that expertise and enable it to be shared. The peer-to-peer learning is really strong. Now, we have obviously had the social experiment of online delivery during COVID, and I think we did a very good job. But I think it's fair to say that, again, one of our key USPs is the face-to-face delivery. And in my 20 plus years teaching exec ed, I am firmly in the camp and of the philosophy that peer-to-peer learning is probably the most advantageous to executives, not only because it facilitates engagement and sidebar conversations and networking and so on, but also because it is where real learning thrives in that face-to-face environment where we can have really strong discussions. This is a very much a kind of a forward, what I call a forward-looking journey of learning. It's really encouraging you to take these conceptual frameworks and really pivot and say, okay, while doing any diploma on corporate governance or any other diploma is really valuable to my career progression, and I've already alluded to that, I think it's very powerful. It is my contribution to my organization, and that is really important. So as you look forward, and you think about applying this education to your own, what you learn on the diploma to your own context, it can be very powerful both to you and your organization. I've mentioned peer-to-peer learning, and I've mentioned the physical nature of the program and that it is face-to-face. And again, I just want to reiterate how positive that is in terms of expansive discussion and reflection. And this is a combination of that pracademic, as I spoke, I suppose, the merger of academic and practical relevance. We really do allow that. And, all of our faculty are very, very experienced in putting concepts out there and standing back and allow that peer-to-peer engagement happen. So, the beauty about as we'll explain later, the block release format and having 3 days in class, is that you're getting that time to sit back, take time away from the day-to-day, take time away from the laptop or the computer, and like sit in class with your peers and really deeply reflect on things. And if there's one expression that I've heard time and time again in the classroom during my time on the Diploma in Corporate Governance, it's that, wow, I never thought of it like that, or I never explored it like that. So giving people the time to engage on that is really powerful. I think this is, again, related to that, it is really that encouraging of you to look at the world in a slightly different way. And again, in a way, that's the beauty about the academic approach. If this was exclusively a practical approach, you might say, well, here's the code of governance. This is what the code says, or this is what best practice has kind of evolved into. Whereas when you layer on wonderful academic rigor to that, it really kind of develops your understanding, but actually asks you to, or forces you to critically reflect on kind of the application of best practice and your own contextual environment. I mentioned the expert faculty, so I won't labour the point. And we're very proud of our faculty. They have been with us for a long time. I think one of the things I think that you should be aware of is that as program director, and on the academic side, I work very closely with faculty. They are very agile in terms of their delivery. The material doesn't become stale. It can't be stale. This is exec ed, and it's a very unforgiving environment when things become stale. So faculty are very much on top of their game in terms of, what are the most current cases out there, the most current reading, one of the most kind of practical examples they can give. So as I said, very experienced faculty, very experienced in exec development and education, and we're very proud of them. And as I mentioned, the agility in terms of evolving the content, this is a core USP. We control that, and we work very closely on that, and we're not at the behest of any other organisation or any other aspect of UCD to kind of move that along. We have a lot of scope absolute scope to be agile in terms of our content. I won't labour the point. These are the key benefits. This is taken directly from the brochure. What you'll see when you look at the content is you will leave the program with a very, very good understanding of the legal and regulatory framework within which companies and boards operate. That concept of corporate governance as a system, which is a core philosophy of the program, will be very much embedded in your mind. There's a huge amount of technical competence that will be acquired during the program. And this is everything from the legal aspects to accounting aspects to strategic aspects, risk aspects, and even like technology governance aspects. I think that concept of being able to critically evaluate, and this is really what we want from directors, and senior executives within organizations charged with governance. We want people to stand back and actually reflect and critically evaluate the status quo. And whether this is around, strategic formulation, consideration of risks, dealing with the external environment, and all of the externalities that keep just coming at us. I think that is a really strong part of the program. And what we really want is we want participants to leave the program, or as they are involved in the program, to lean in to discussions on all aspects of governance, including strategy formulation and so on, to lean into that and be very part of that discourse. And also a core part, as we'll see now shortly, of the programme relates to behavioural aspects of boards, and indeed the board's role in influencing culture in the organisation. So that is another key aspect of the programme. And I think that directors, participants on the programme leave the programme with a very good understanding of the kind of the behaviours needed to optimise governance within an organisation. So this is a difficult slide to read, so I'm not going to go through it. It's taken from the brochure, so apologies if it's a little bit grainy. There are 12 modules on the program. I won't go through them all, but you can see them from a quick glance. You'll get a sense of them, and if you've already received the brochure from Annabella, one of my colleagues, you'll have seen the content. But it's 12 modules delivered over an academic year, and there'll be 6 modules delivered in the first in semester 1, and 6 modules delivered in semester 2. So when you look at this and you see, the depth and breadth of it, and I think this is what makes the professional diploma in UCD, professional diploma in corporate governance in UCD, very different to maybe other programs that you might see. It is its depth, and it is its breadth. So we focus on everything from the legal and regulatory environment right through to executing the role and responsibilities of boards in practice. And what you'll find at Module 4, which actually I lecture on, which I deliver Modules 1, 4, and just looking across here, I deliver a part of Module 5 and also Module 12. So quite a big footprint in this from a teaching perspective. But one of the things that we will work on very closely is the red thread that flows through all of the modules. My job as program director is to make sure that red thread is very clear to you. But if you look at something like Module 4, where we look at the roles and responsibilities of the board, the depthness that comes in subsequent modules where those roles and responsibilities are explored in greater depth, strategy being a very good example, risk governance being another good example, technology governance being another example. So we pull a lot deeper in subsequent modules, building on Module 4. So it's very much, if you think of the corporate governance diploma as very much like Lego blocks. And we start off with kind of those introductory paradigms and practices, concepts in Module 1, and we build and build and build, so that the benefits of the diploma are exceptionally cumulative to you. So by the time you leave after Module 12, your head will be swelled with all of that that you've taken in within that approach, so that every kind of module is taking bits from the previous ones and building it further. And that's a really kind of important part of the way the program is structured. And actually, again, this is a little bit grainy, but I think this is a very useful diagram, because what it does is it presents to you not only the depth and breadth of the program, but it demonstrates, how the linkages. So if you look out to the far right here, the workings of the board, the system of governance is basically modules 1 to 12. That's just, the way it is. But we have the board committees and the typical board committees focused on within, core modules as demonstrated in the diagram over to the right. And we also explore other specialist committees, for example, the Sustainability Committee, which has become more in vogue of late. But if you look over to the far left, and you think about the theory, policy, and practice of corporate governance is very strong within the program. But we have a strong sustainability footprint as well. And we also integrate investor and stakeholder expectations into the diploma. And all aspects of both the board and the board's accountability to external stakeholders. I've mentioned the legal and regulatory best practice, and I've mentioned culture, ethics, and board effectiveness. And one of the parts that you'll see in the middle column there, technology and slam in the middle there of technology governance, that was a module that we brought in last year. It was the first time it was delivered. It went very well, and we're still evolving that module, as we are with all modules, as the world outside evolves. So we're very proud of that module on technology governance. And I guess, with everything that's going on in the world, whether it's AI, defending against cyber attacks, and just, I guess, ICT strategy and so on, it's a very important module. So I suppose, I hope that gives you a flavor of just how things cross over and how the various modules are integrated. And I realize it's a lot of data, a lot of detail on that. So you will be able to see, kind of look at that in the brochure. In terms of the program timelines then, I think that, as I mentioned, it is a program that's delivered, and this is the first time it's going to be delivered in block release. The Professional Diploma in Corporate Governance is a slight outlier within the executive development programs, because when it originated, it was the first executive development program, would you believe? And when it was first developed, it was delivered over Monday and Tuesday evening over an academic year. And that has proven very successful. But one of the things that when I took over as program director, is that myself and the business development team were very keen to understand, what reasons why people would love to do the program but might find it challenging. And one of the things was the commitment to the 2 evenings a week. So we reflected deeply on that, and we explored how we could make sure that the class contact day hours remained the same, but that we could deliver it in a way that was more conducive to the very busy environments that people have, both work and family life commitments and so on. So hence this move to block release, and it's the first time this first time it's going to be delivered in this format, and we're very excited about it. So in terms of next academic year, which is 25-26, the program class will kick off on the 18th of September, but we will have an online program introduction and orientation on the 1st of September. And this will be where I, as program director, set out, the kind of the way the year will roll, and so on. You'll meet the program manager, and who will give you, I suppose, a kind of an online orientation of Smurfit Business School, and all it has to offer, not only its beautiful grounds, but library facilities and so on. So that will all be explored on that first orientation day. But classes will kick off on the 18th of September. So classes will be on the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of that day, from 9 to 5 on the 3 days. So I suppose just in terms of breakfast and lunch will be provided on all of these 3 days, and I can tell you now that the food and that's provided by Smurf is always of top quality. So that's always something that participants enjoy. So in terms of that, as you'll see, you will have 3 blocks of 3 days. So you'll have every 3 days will capture 2 modules. So you'll have 2, 2, and 2, which is 6 in the first trimester, and then equally in the second trimester, which kicks off on the 22nd of January, you will have, and will run for 3 days, you will have modules 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, finishing up on the 28th of March. But interspersed between that, you're going to have your exam. And I guess this sometimes fills people a little bit with dread, the examination. There is an examination included on that. So in your trimester, in both trimesters, you will complete 3 continuous assessments in both trimesters that are group-based assessments. So typically they're not significant in terms of length. They're usually around about 10 or 12 kind of pages of assessment, and you'll be in groups of about 4 or 5, but you'll have to deliver 3 during each trimester, and then at the end of the trimester then you will have an exam. The continuous assessment kind of constitutes about 10% of your overall score, so the rest relates to the exam. The exam is a 2-hour exam paper. And so if you take, for example, your trimester 1 exam paper that will take place on the 8th of December, there'll be 3 exam questions and on each paper. And so that will reflect the 6 modules. So there's 1 exam question per module, 3 in paper 1, 3 in paper 2. And all questions are compulsory. All questions are compulsory, but the exam is open book, which means you can bring all of your notes in and reflect on your notes when you're addressing the question. And this, we believe, reflects much more the practical reality of how you would work in practice, in that, this isn't a memory game, and this is really around, having been given kind of conceptual frameworks of understanding. Typically, the questions are case-based, short and sweet kind of cases or different scenarios, and you're asked to kind of write or provide your opinion based on what you would have absorbed in class. So it's much more of that, applying a conceptual framework of understanding rather than assessing your technical knowledge of particular areas. It's very much a kind of an exec ed approach, and that's replicated in trimester 2, where the exam will be the 20th of April next year. It'll be 20th of April 2026 for next academic year. I mean, of course, the culmination then, of course, once you're through, is the wonderful executive education graduation in O'Reilly Hall, which is a fantastic event, both for students, faculty, and students' family as well. So really an enjoyable event. So that's an awful lot to absorb. So and I'm sure there might be some questions on that, which I will kind of pick up shortly. So look, that is kind of, I guess, the kind of as much as I have to kind of tell you about the program itself. Happy to have one-to-one discussions or with anyone who is interested in talking about the program, either myself as program director, or indeed Annabelle as on the business development side. So very happy to speak to anybody who wants to have a discussion. My email is there, but you can also get in touch with me on LinkedIn if you want to drop me a message. I'm very, very happy to have a discussion, because one of the most important things for me as program director is that this is acknowledgement by me that this is an investment by you of your time into a program to both enhance your knowledge and your professional standing within your organization. So we recognize this as a significant investment, and it must meet your objectives. So if you want to have a one-to-one discussion, very, very open to that. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for a second, and I'm very happy at this point to take any questions that have come in. And I see one in there. Okay, well, I've just come in from a block. I won't say the question. They just said the block release format has made it possible for me to consider participating in the program. Well, that is wonderful to hear, and I think it's kind of music to my ears. And I think just to reassure everyone, that actually I think the number of contact hours has slightly increased. I think we're about an hour more contact hours than we would have had on the Monday and Tuesday delivery. So I think that nothing about the peer-to-peer learning and the face-to-face is going to be compromised by virtue of the fact that we're moving to block race. So thanks for that.
Yeah, Margaret, I would agree with what Olive's comment there as well. There's been a lot of people have come back to me, and I've been looking after this for a few years now, and people have been gutted that they haven't been able to apply for the program and attend just because of that commitment on the Monday and Tuesday evenings every week. So it really has opened up for people across all of Ireland now to be able to come, and they have those module dates in advance. It's very much in line with our other diplomas that we have on offer, that are also those kind of blocks of modules. So it is working well, and we can see it already. We opened up for applications, I think, just 2 weeks ago, and already we have a lot of interest. We have a lot of application forms in. My advice would be, I know this is going to fill up fairly quickly because of this new format, and I would encourage anybody, if you are interested at all, just to let me know, reach out, and I'll happily hold you a place. You might be looking into funding, you might be looking into the time, can you commit it, checking out the dates. So just reach out, and Margaret has very kindly offered to have calls with people, just to maybe reassure you on questions you have, the commitment involved, and I'm happy to facilitate that call as well. So yeah, and I think we have another.
I see that. The question around how many hours a week. My guesstimate would be that if you were able to carve out somewhere between 12 and 15 hours, that would be ample. But of course, that really will depend on, and one of the things I would say is that, over the course of a week, that's not, I think that's probably very doable even for the very, very, very busy people, but that would really to optimize the experience. Exec Ed, like everything else, you get out of it what you put in. And one of the things when I work with faculty on the reading lists, I'm a as they say, a devil for having a combination of essential reading or things that we want to focus on, but also recognizing that we want you to go on a journey and we want you to explore the hidden depths of corporate governance that often can be presented in a very superficial way, in my view. We want you to get exposure to that much more, that depth and rigor of it. So we'll also have recommended reading. So some people delve and have time to delve into that recommended reading. Not doing so won't be a block to excelling in the exam or in the program itself. But what we'll give you is a nice platform post the program to kind of delve into that wonderful literature as well. So I think so I'm guessing, so I think in terms of the essentials, in terms of the core work, I think 12 to 15 hours, if you're able to find that over the course of a week, and maybe every week you won't be able to do that, but if on average you're able to do that, that to me would be a good ballpark. I think one of the other interesting things that I actually think is worth mentioning is that we have introduced this year an alumni event, and slightly kind of a little bit kind of maybe not people were expecting, but just we're going to start delivering an annual seminar to our alumni. And at the beginning of June this year, we have our first alumni event. And this is where all of the alumni are coming back. Well, I hope a lot of the alumni come back. All the alumni are invited to come back. And we're going to spend a half day with them, 3 courses of a day, where we are just coming back and giving them an opportunity to catch up on a few aspects. So the alumni is very important to us. It's very important to Smurfit Exec Development. And so much of our referrals, or the people who come on the program, are because they've been referred from people who've done the program, which I think is testament to the program itself. Right, a couple more coming in. Okay, so there's a question here around the blend of private and public sector. Do you know, it's a bit like the gender balance between the class. It really does depend. we've always got very good traction from the public sector, but we'll pretty much have, it would be very balanced. Maybe, I don't know, 2/3 private, one third public. It does vary year from year. We've had 50-50 splits in the class before, so it really does vary, but we get a good footprint from both. I think one of the things that I always find when I'm standing in front of the class, and certainly when I'm working, kind of preparing faculty, for the class composition and so on, just to make sure that we're getting the kind of good, making sure that we're engaging on so many different levels. We'll always have, you could have financial services, you have non-FS, we've had a lot of family business footprint, large private footprint, listed company footprint, state body, and indeed department footprint. So it really is always a very, very good balance. So it's hard to say in any one year, but typically I would say 2/3 private, 1/3 public sector. Oh yeah, so are there past papers? Is the exam a complete exam of the entire syllabus, or is there any way to go about targeting a few questions? Well, here we go. I mean, I think that one of the things that I would encourage faculty to do is give good steers. Look, the thing about exec development is one of the reasons why you're here is because you've already proven yourself in the exam domain. I have no interest in program director of giving memory tests. This is not what it's about. And faculty would be of that mindset. So this is really around, my strong preference would that people wouldn't get overly concerned about the exam and trust me to say it will be okay, and just go on this wonderful journey. And it is a journey. And like I said, think of those Lego blocks of building that conceptual framework. So what we will do at the end of every module is that the faculty will, given that you've sat through 1.5 days in a particular module, because every module will be 1.5 days, with the exception of the accounting module, which is 2 days, and the audit committees, which is 1 day in that 3-day block. The faculty will give you a steer. They'll give you a steer just to help and support you, maybe narrow down for the exam. So it isn't a case that you are going to have to, know every single thing. It's really more that you have participation in class, that you've listened, you've learned. And when I look even at the exam papers that I've looked at this year as program director, it's very much trying to leverage that conceptual framework. It's very much trying to get you to apply what you've taken away in a very common sense way, and critically be able to leverage off your own practical experience. Because this is the thing, this is exec ed, it's not undergrad. We're not trying to say, did you pick up that technical aspect? It's more about the application in practice. Okay. There's a great question on climate governance. And yeah, so this was something we introduced, what is currently module 4. And I took over module 1 last year from Professor Neve Brennan, and I'd taken over module 4 a few years back. And module 4 on the role of the board, I integrated sustainability into that module. So there's a couple of things just to be clear. On module 1, we look at, and this is probably as academic as it gets, in that we look at the core theories, the dominant theories of corporate governance, but we do that through a very practical lens, because when we think of stakeholder theory, we're very much thinking about the wider stakeholder, environmental, social, and dimensions in relation to sustainability and that whole stakeholder world, and how that relates. And we start opening up our minds to the fact that the impact that the wider stakeholder can have. When we pivot into module 4 and look at the role of the board in practice, what we're doing there then is we're thinking, okay, how is policy evolving in this area? So we look at the Green Deal, we look at all of the various pieces of policy that have come from Europe, be it CSRD, CSDDD, all of those particular aspects. And we consider them very much through a governance lens. Now, what we don't do is go into the mechanics of climate in terms of the technical aspects of climate, because that would be well beyond the reach of the programme. This is more to do with how the programme, and if I can give a very good example of the way we look at it, a board's legal duty is to the company itself. That's the legal reality, but the practical reality is something very different, because you might have shareholders, you might have, you've got external stakeholders, you've got customer expectations, you've got just societal expectations. So we really lean into that, the complexities of executing the role of the board, incorporating some of those stakeholder expectations, And what we'll do is we'll give you a very good understanding and a very rounded understanding of the policy that companies might be aware of, whether they're directly applicable to you, or whether as part of being part of a supply chain, you have to be, even though they might be directly applicable, down the, that they will be applicable to people to whom you apply, and de facto they are applicable to you. So we give you that architecture. We will utilize a case. And last year, we brought in the head of sustainability from NTR PLC, who spoke to the way that NTR applied it. So we probably, bring in the guest speakers to speak a little bit more on the technical side. So we won't go into the science of climate, but we will absolutely go into the sustainability agenda around climate. That is an absolute guarantee. And also in the module on strategy, the sustainability will also be incorporated into the module on strategy as well, in terms of that strategy formulation. So there's a good footprint on that. The question around is the program compatible with becoming a chartered director in the future? There isn't a relationship there, in the sense that IOD, the Institute of Directors, own the professional designation of chartered director, and that's not a that's different. It's a professional designation. But I think that what we see sometimes, and we've had a little bit of two-way traffic. So what we see is that people might, if they've done the diploma, reach out to the IOD themselves, particularly IOD UK, or where actually the designation comes from, because it's awarded in Ireland, but it comes from the UK, and might seek to apply for the designation, and they might have to do some incremental modules. I can't really opine on that. I don't know too much about that. But I think that, that's something that you could explore. The one thing I can say to you is, having done the diploma in corporate governance, that will be an enabler if you go that route. But I would hope that having a professional diploma in corporate governance at level 9 on the National Framework of Qualifications will be, a kind of a qualification that will serve you very well. In terms of in terms of branding and so on, from your own career perspective. There's any other questions coming through? How are we for time, Annabelle? You keep me straight.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes. So there was at the end of Dolores's question there, she did ask about numbers in the class. So we could, every year it varies, but we've had, or we will be aiming for about 24 to 30 people in the class this year. Applications are coming in thick and fast, so I don't have a deadline as such, but as I said, if you get me to provisionally hold you a place while you're having a think about it, or maybe looking at funding, I will let you know then when the class is getting full, and then you'll get the opportunity to say yes or no then to the place. But once the class is full, I close it out and we start a waiting list then. But we would hope to have the class fairly full before the summer kicks off, because obviously people go on their holidays and they're not really thinking about going back to education while they're holidaying. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be any more coming in, Margaret. I think we will leave it there. Thank you so much for that very insightful session on what to expect. It's a big deep dive into the diploma in corporate governance, and I'm sure everyone will agree that the breadth and depth, you really covered it off there, and also who's going to be in the classroom with you. There's a lovely mix every year, so you will learn as much from others in the class as you will from the faculty. I will be sending around a recording of this, also our contact details, the brochure and the schedule, so you'll have it all afterwards. And as I said, please get in touch. Margaret and I are more than happy to have a chat with you to answer any questions you might be concerned about, and hopefully they will help you make your decision then. Okay, so we'll leave it there, and thank you to everybody for giving up their lunchtime to come onto the session. We are bang on 1:45. It's the best timekeeping I've ever kept. So have a lovely
Not like me, Annabelle. That's not like me at all. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.